Also effective every single week here on NFL Fantasy Live. It is the starts and the sits with Michael F. Florio. Go to NFL.com/startsits to see Mike's work and how he has decided to set not just his lineup, but your lineup for week 2. We'll start with the running back position. Who's getting in the game, Mike?
Look, me and Nicolette have been watching a lot of movies that the other haven't seen, and right now we're watching Pirates of the Caribbean, which is amazing. I would do well in that because I would go down with the ship, with the players that I believe in, and Travion Henderson is one that I believed in more than anyone this summer. You are crazy if you're thinking about pulling him out of your lineup after just week 1. Look, I get it. He only played a third of the snaps, and he only had 5 carries. He did average over 5 yards per carry. If you watch that game, he is the superior talent. And what I love, 6 targets, 6 catches. It shows us that he is going to heavily be utilized in the passing game. He doubled up the yardage of Ramondre Stevenson, and you all watched the Colts-Dolphins last week. You saw what they did to that defense. I think the Patriots are going to put up a lot of points this week. I think the big plays start in week 2 for Travion Henderson.
As a father, I'm contractually obligated to say that you believe he is a start. Let's go to a sit at the running back position.
That was very well done. I don't have a pirate pun here, but I'm very sad about Isaiah Pacheco. Like, rip my heart out like Jack Sparrow. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, Isaiah Pacheco, I think, was the biggest loser from week 1, unfortunately. And if you remember in the preseason, I was very high on him. But he played less than half the snaps. He only had 7 touches, and you see there fewer than 5 fantasy points. And I know you don't overreact to just one game, but the usage was very scary. We saw Kareem Hunt in on short yard situation. He was playing third downs. Brashard Smith was getting mixed in on second downs. And if that is his usage, that lowers his floor and ceiling. It makes him just like a between the 20s kind of running back. That's awful for fantasy. Oh, and the Eagles, you might have heard, they're one of the best run defenses in the NFL. Oh, and Jalen Carter, going to be playing this week. And then, yeah, the whole game, more than just, stepping on the field. I also think Kenneth Walker's usage was very, very scary from week 1. He played less snaps than Zach Charbonnet. Charbonnet had more carries, and he was the one seeing the goal line work as well. Walker did get the passing downs, but if this is the usage moving forward, it makes Kenneth Walker a boom or bust, big play reliant, like flex option, and it's very scary. It makes it where almost you don't want to play any of the Seahawks running backs, but if I had to play one this week, the usage is pointing to Charbonnet. And Steelers, I know they were ran all over by the Jets, but they were tough on running backs last season.
It's funny how, it's generally easier to figure out the snap share and how things are going to go for running backs, but with the Seahawks, it's not. It can be a little more variance with wide receivers, so I'm interested to see how you feel about your starts here in week 2.
Look, I'm going down with the ship with another guy here. Give me Travis, I can't do it, but Travis Hunter, with the long R, whatever, team high, 8 targets and 6 catches in his first NFL game. You see they're targeted on a third of his routes. And Trevor Lawrence, come on, man. You can't be missing a wide open Travis Hunter like that from a clean pocket, but there was production left on the field. This week they faced the Bengals, and you heard Rank earlier. The Bengals give up production to everybody, and I'm expecting their offense to look more like the Bengals offense, and if that is the case, we're going to see the Jags chasing points and having to throw a lot more. Week 1 feels like the floor game. I think this week could be a more of a ceiling game for Travis Hunter. And then my guy, Keon Coleman. He led the Bills in every receiving stat. He was one of 3 wide receivers with multiple end zone targets and over 100 air yards in week 1. And if you're still not sold, he was the first read on 35% of the pass attempts from Josh Allen per fantasy points data. Every throw in the end zone seemingly went to Keon Coleman except for the one that was tipped and still ended up going to Keon Coleman. And people, I think, are overthinking this right now. If you don't want the number 1 option and the clear go-to guy in the red zone for Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, I don't know why you're playing fantasy football.
Yeah, been good for a very long time. A guy who has not been good for a very long time went off in week 1, and one of his targets you have is a sit. Tell me why.
Michael Pittman Jr. He's a sit for one reason and one reason only. Patrick Surtain.
Oh,
right?
That makes sense.
Calvin Ridley last week had a rough go in week 1 because Patrick Surtain. They allowed him to shadow Calvin Ridley. He played over 80% of the snaps, lined up opposite of Ridley, and I suspect that this week he'll be doing the same thing to Michael Pittman Jr., who is the clear-cut top outside option for the Colts. It is a night and day matchup. The Dolphins secondary is maybe the best one to target for fantasy purposes. The Broncos is the worst one. So I'm not buying week one. Also, I'm not buying Daniel Jones yet. So that's also a big reason for sitting Pittman.
Awaiting more evidence on Dimes and company. We'll have more starts and sits as we continue on NFL Fantasy Live, the quarterbacks and the tight ends. But now we get some fantasy superlatives with Adam Rank.
Thank you so much, Patrick. It's time now for the fantasy superlatives, and it's one of those things that you get in your high school yearbook, which I never got. Actually, I did. Somebody took mine and started signing somebody else's names. They're like, "Oh, like I got a yearbook back," and everybody had signed notes to Flynn Barron. So I'm like, "Okay, great. I guess I might as well give this to you now." But let's start off with a game that Michael was just talking about, and it's the Indianapolis Colts. And the most likely to disappoint award goes to Jonathan Taylor. This is one of the tough ones where you can pretty much just bench Michael Pittman and not have to worry about it. You are compelled to start Jonathan Taylor because you have to. He was likely a late round, first round, early second round pick for you. You have to get him into your lineup, but the Denver Broncos have allowed the fewest fantasy points per game to running backs. They did that in week one, but last year they were also stingy against the run, so you have to play them. It's like one of those things, like it's a party you're getting invited to. You know it's going to be bad. You show up and it's just as bad as you thought it was going to be. Moving on, the most popular new student award goes to Amarian Hampton, who last week was like, that's fine. Nothing major. However, this is, again, another situation where he is going to get a tremendous opportunity, this time playing Monday night in Las Vegas. There is going to be again, we saw in week one, the Chargers were very content with going with him. And I know last year they wanted to go with the veteran presence. They went with J.K. Dobbins. I do not believe that Najee Harris is a threat to be taking targets and touches away from Amarian Hampton. So I feel that I'm going to be starting him with much confidence. And in fact, if you're going to be sitting there Monday night hoping for that nice little outburst in this Monday night game, you're going to have all sorts of action working with Ashton Genty and Justin Herbert and all those guys and Brock Bowers and all that. Amarian Hampton is going to come through with you. And the most likely forgotten man, but you're going to rejoice, forgotten star, is Breece Hall. Like a lot of you are showing up to school today being like, oh my God, you go here still, Breece Hall? Yeah, as a matter of fact, he does. I was besmirched during the offseason when I pointed out correctly that Tanner Engström was going to run this operation similar to the way that the Lions were running their offense last year. And I can't help but groove to this music. It is so good. Congratulations to Todd Mossberg for pulling these tracks. They're so good. You guys have got to get better headphones. If for nothing else, dial up the surround sound and all that stuff. And really, but one of the things I love about Breece Hall is we're worried about, is Justin Fields going to steal some touchdowns away from him? Absolutely. He is. But Breece Hall still went out there and had a very productive fantasy football performance, had over 100 rushing yards. And if those touchdowns start to go his way, I know that Braylon Allen is also there usurping touchdowns as well. Breece Hall still looks like a very valuable fantasy football player. He might not have been the second round pick that I thought he was going to be, but still very good. Now listen, if you know me, you know that I don't go to the gym, but I'm still going to flex on these guys. That's right. We're going to be talking about my Flex 150, and we're going to be putting Michael F. Florio to the test. Does he have the wherewithal to win this game? Let's check it out. Coming up next.
Back here on NFL Fantasy Live, time for more starts and sits with Michael F. Florio. Go to NFL.com/start-sit to see the full list. Here we're going to start with a start for the quarterback position. Who played well last week that you think is going to play well this week?
I'm wearing Jets colors right now.
Hey.
Look, you want a little self-care? Put Justin Fields back into your starting lineup. I saw a lot of places last week had Justin Fields as a sit. Not here. Was saying to start him, and hopefully you did. Nearly 30 fantasy points and the QB3 finish on the week. And look, running. I talked about it all summer long. He's going to run plenty. He's going to be utilized near the goal line. We didn't even see a tush push. I think that is still coming. But Go back and watch that game. Justin Fields was lighting it up as a passer, moving on, throwing on the move, connecting downfield, highly efficient downfield as well. And I think they're going to have to put up points because Josh Allen and the Bills are on the other side. And more dropbacks doesn't equal just more passing. It also equals more scrambling with Justin Fields. So definitely start Fields. Don't think twice about it. And then let's go to another Justin. You got to wait till Monday night for this one. But despite taking a hit that would have killed a lesser man, that is his head coach quote, not me. He still finished with 318 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and nearly 28 fantasy points. And what I love, that came against a Chiefs defense that has given Herbert a lot of trouble in the past. He has now 3 reliable wide receivers, so lots of options. The Raiders struggled against the pass last year. They allowed almost 300 yards to Drake May. I feel really good if you took a shot on Justin Herbert moving forward.
So those guys played pretty well in week 1. I'm looking at a very good quarterback that you have in your sits. I wanted a bounce back for Mr. Goff. Why not?
One could come, because the thing is, they're at home, and we know in the past, Rank always calls them an indoor cat. They're better at home. But I watched this game Sunday and then went back and rewatched it after, because I was like, was I fully seeing what I thought I was seeing? And this Lions offensive line, I don't think it was talked about a lot, how they lost numerous pieces to the interior part of it this offseason, and it really struggled. Goff was constantly on the move, way more than I remember in past years, under pressure a lot, and he just didn't seem comfortable. And because of that, a lot of the passes were quick and short. It took a garbage time touchdown that almost wasn't ruled a touchdown to even get to double-digit fantasy points. And then you see there, he hasn't had the best success against the Bears. The Bears were generating a lot of pressure, and they were tough on quarterbacks all last year and for most of Monday night until Rank the fourth quarter. But that's a good defense the Bears have.
All right, let's go over to the tight end position. Who do we fully back with support this week?
Tyler Warren. There's 2 tight ends in the NFL I'd rather have in fantasy than Tyler Warren, and it's Brock Bowers and Trey McBride, and that's it. Look, he led the Colts in targets and catches. He was second in yards, and Michael Pittman Jr. led them in receiving yards. He, after the game, said that Tyler Warren could have had 200 yards if they wanted to. They just have to keep feeding him the ball, and he's going to win after the catch time and time again, like you see there. And what I really love, he was the first read on a third of the passes per fantasy points data. And with the Broncos being so stout at corner and taking away the wide receivers, I think we're going to see a lot of passes go Tyler Warren's way over the middle of the field. And then I'm also starting Jake Ferguson. He was second on the Cowboys with 6 targets last week. He was a first read on 23% of the passes. Last season, he got the Giants for 12 fantasy points. And Dak has a history of having some huge games against the New York Giants. And what caught me by surprise, the Giants generated pressure at the 3rd lowest rate in the NFL in week 1. I thought that would be much higher. So if you're giving Dak time in the pocket, I think he's going to pick apart that Giants secondary.
Yeah, wonder how much of that was playing Jaden Daniels and how aggressive they're
Yeah.
going to be. Interested to see how that plays out here in week 2. Who are we sitting, though, at the tight end position?
I'm like Jon Snow in one of the best episodes of TV ever. I'm just standing there with my sword as all the horses are coming at me because the Swifties are going to come for me. I'm saying to sit Travis Kelce. And look, I'm going to take it because I care more about your fantasy teams than my mentions. But in a game with no Rashee Rice, no Worthy, and the Chiefs trailing throughout, he had just 4 targets. I know that long catch and run touchdown salvaged his day, but I'm not banking on that against this Eagles defense who allowed the fewest fantasy points per game and yards to tight ends last year. They held Ferguson to under 25 last week. They held Travis Kelce in check in the Super Bowl. And again, I'm not telling you to sit him for any tight end you can get because tight end is very, very thin. But if you have another option on your team that you're considering, I would take the shot. I'm not doing it against the Eagles defense with tight ends.
Right now, they're like a miscommunication in the red zone away from 2 touchdowns in week 1, Mike. What are you doing? We got more coming up here on NFL Fantasy Live, including after a down week. Did Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase bounce back into a top quarterback receiver stack of week 2? DFS players take note. We got the pairs to get your lineup correct. Coming up next on NFL Fantasy Live.